Damn, I love that tune. Are we live? Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Jim and Rob Over-Analyze Movies, live video podcast for people who love to talk about movies as much as they love watching them. And folks, we have a banger for you tonight. It's been a while since I've seen a movie that I just can't wait to get my teeth into. Tonight, join myself and my good friend Jim Chaboyko as we overanalyze Christopher Nolan's latest opus, the biopic Oppenheimer. But first, let's bring on my co-host with the most, Mr. Jim Chaboyko, and talk about how not to watch a movie and discuss what is actually Filmmaking 101. Jim, my friend, how are you doing?
Great. Last day of July, first day of August pretty soon. So yeah, we're midway point of the summer, I think. But otherwise, pretty damn good.
Very cool. All right, Jim. Yes, you and I both, we both came to this tweet from somebody we follow, Nick Rob, regarding Grace Randolph. Grace Randolph, very popular YouTuber in the film Twitter and film YouTube space, reviewer, got way more followers and what am I looking for here, Jim? Followers and what's the other thing? Oh,
Influence?
right, subscribers. I mean, heck, the woman makes a living at this. Definitely someone of strong opinions. Not my cup of tea as far as her take on films. And but here, this is what generated some controversy in film Twitter. But I think it illustrates something that I love to talk about with you. All right, here is a hot take of hers. Let's get this going.
You know, the truth of the matter is that Oppenheimer was a grade A jerk. Like, wow, an extremely unlikable person who surrounded himself with other unlikable people in his personal life. Now, you can't make Oppenheimer a great guy if he was a jerk. He was a jerk, though you can't change it. But then he shouldn't be the main character of your movie. You have to focus on someone else. And then Oppenheimer, I mean, this is like filmmaking 101. And then Oppenheimer is a character within the film. And, you know, the truth...
Let's go to Jim. Let's go to one of our favorite folks on Twitter, screenwriter and a striking screenwriter right now, Mr. Vinny Mancuso. This is a great take. Spoilers. While he did succeed in staying one step ahead of The Entity, I do not condone Ethan Hunt's rogue tactics. He does not take national security seriously. I understand how to watch movies. This is after another hot take of Miss Randolph's regarding getting into some of the spoilers of the film. But really, the film is in part about what happened to Oppenheimer. This is part of the historical record, his fall from grace, let's say, during the during the McCarthy era. Now, that said, of course, these are some of this stuff is, you know what, Jim, hot take stuff. She has a much more full-throated defense of her position and explanation of her position. I'll put a link to this thread, and there's some, talking about, do you get it or not, or whatever. Some of it's Nolan fanboys ganging up on her, but her also maybe exploiting some other parts of the discussion to sort of make an excuse for her own position. But anyway, I'll put a link to that. Sure. Jim, it's not to, let's say, pick on or beat up on Grace Randolph. I remember when we were supposed to be getting into this, and I'm checking out other YouTubers and seeing what they're doing and how they do it. And, Grace Randolph, I would put in a bucket of YouTubers I don't like to follow that much because I don't, their take on this stuff and how they do it just doesn't work for me. That said, I do think, and here's before I give you my comment on it,
Sure.
does the character have to be likable for us to engage in the film?
Never. It's not a Disney hero or heroine with my dream song at the start, that establishes in which direction they're going. She, later on in that doubling down of her position, she's saying this guy's got no charisma and Truman was right about him. He's such a crybaby. I mean, when you're taking, I think Gary Oldman meant to make Truman look like a kind of a dick there, and she's taking that side. But she also mentions charisma, and I just mentioned before the show we started taping. I don't think Don Corleone's very charismatic. He's got the floating jaw, the everything else, and. He's an old kind of, he loves his grandkid, I guess, but it's
There's
an odd
presence,
take.
but would you call it charm?
Yeah.
Likable?
The other thing too is that just she's maybe takes exception at all the blowback she's gotten, but she's being condescending to Nolan. This is filmmaking 101, which is kind of an obnoxious comment.
It's a hot take.
It's a hot take, and it's also a take for people who like their films black and white and not gray. And personally, with the rise of the anti-hero in the past few years and that kind of thing, I think a lot of people like their material gray.
Well, it's funny. It's interesting. Walt 65, and I would agree. He says in the chat, great to see you, by the way, Walt. Grace knows that controversy generates views. The critical drinker, another YouTuber I'm not a big fan of. That said, I think she does. There's a weird error here. And this is the filmmaking 101 is your key character, your protagonist should be compelling. You should be interested in watching this person. You should want to know what they're going to do next or what's going to happen to them next. Michael Corleone in The Godfather, he is a sympathetic character who falls. Heisenberg, what's his name, from Breaking Bad, what was likable about him? But he was compelling. It starts from crap and just gets worse. But I think a perfect example that sort of shows this isn't filmmaking. Filmmaking 101 is compelling character is Bruno Ganz's performance as Adolf in Downfall. And yes, it's based on Traudl Junga's memoir of her time in, but it's about Der Fuhrer. It's about him and no time, and it is riveting. It is compelling to watch as he collapses, as he, it's about his downfall. Where's the
charisma there?
And who talks about that film? All right, no one, because it failed. Filmmaking 101, a likable character.
Yeah.
Although I suspect, and if you're nitpicking, because it is based on, it's ostensibly the lens of Traudl Junga, but that camera is regularly in scenes that she is never a part of.
No.
It's not her story. No one goes after, oh, wow, I really kind of captured a moment of what it was like to be a secretary in
Yeah.
the mid 40s.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Get in here, you troggle. I'm gonna shout at these 4 generals. That didn't happen.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing we can take away from Grace, Ms. Randolph's blanket, her hot take. One of 2 things we can take from her. One is, yeah, that's not filmmaking 101. A compelling character is. You know what? There has certainly, though, been, Jim, where we've watched movies where we detest all the characters to a point where we don't care what happens to them. We're not watching. We stop watching. Is it because they're all detestable and I like none of them? It's probably actually because I had zero interest in watching what happens next. At no time were they compelling. Another thing, though, I think, and I want to know what you think about this, is I think here she is conflating her opinion of this character that she just doesn't like, which is fine, and then saying, well, therefore it's a badly made movie because I don't like this person. I go into films with an expectation of I should like this character. I didn't like him, and therefore I didn't care about what happened to him. Therefore, it's a bad movie. Do you know what I'm trying to say there?
Yeah.
Or does it make sense? What do you think?
He didn't appeal to me, ergo, it wasn't a good movie. So it wasn't just a good movie. It wasn't just not for me. It's not for anybody. To do that kind of
that it's bad.
That it's bad.
Yeah,
and that's filmmaking 101. No, when you're taking the House Un-American Activities Committee side and Truman side, you're maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's like people who decide that Stalin's a great guy after all. But
Well,
I mean,
or do you
it's
get
not
into
even...
that and say, those Tito's partisans, they were breaking the law.
Yeah. Hate to break it to you, that's you're gonna have to answer to somebody for that.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's her take as well. That he's, like of all of us, we do, we have questionable things. We have things we regret. We treat people maybe not the way they deserve to be treated. But in the movie, he's not portrayed as
Well, let's hold on that.
Yeah.
I want to put a pin on that because I think we're going to get far more into that actual aspect.
Just
when
to mention
we get
that
into the spoiler
his
zone.
students call him Oppie. So that's not a sign of hostility or an unliked professor.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Well, and to say, well, then the people around him, well, they were jerks too. It's like, one more thing before we got a full chat. I think the other thing here, back to that bad, it's something we all do. You and I have done it. I think we've gotten a lot better over the coming up on 3.25, nearing 3.5 years that we've done this, where we've kind of went, okay, I don't like it. Does that mean it's bad?
Yeah.
That we try and show our work. It's like, here, I think this is a poorly made movie. And this is why,
Yeah.
And I think, and maybe that's because it's not like I always would disagree with Grace Randolph. She comes from a certain strongly held opinions as opposed to me forever qualifying. Her audience is getting what they want. I just think, though, that we can use this as an example of kind of checking our own biases. Filmmaking 101, compelling character, not likable. Jim, before we move on, let's say hello to some of the wonderful folks in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. We've got, first of all, of course, Walt 65 from wonderful, beautiful British Columbia. Great to see you here, my friend. We also have We also have got Katie Fowler. Katie Fowler is
gosh.
in the
Look at all these
house,
people.
waving.
Hey,
Great to see
Katie.
you here, Katie. I would be remiss if we did not mention our good friend Cody Brockup from the Brockup side. Sorry, let's give that the proper announcement from the Brockup side. Who actually drove 3 hours to experience this movie in 70 millimeter IMAX. And we will put in my pinned comment, there'll be a number of links, but we'll put a pinned comment to that in there. But I'm hoping Cody will stick around because I'm sure you, Jim, have some opinions on the presentation we saw, which I thought was outstanding, but maybe he can add some insight on some of these other formats that he experienced it on. Anyway, great to see you here, Cody. And then, oh my goodness, our man in Kuwait City, Ahmed Jelly Duck 100.
Woo-hoo. Living in the Middle East in the hottest month of human existence. So,
and then one more big round of applause to Richard L. Who said, referring to our, likable versus not likable, our Filmmaking 101 conversation, if protagonists had to be likable, Nick Cage would be working as a pizza driver right now.
pizza!
Rim shot for you, sir.
That's a good one.
What else? The Walt 65. Regarding Grace Randolph's take, given the importance of this film and the history, discussing her take does a disservice to watchers. Just let her go to the next Disney. Because, ooh, ouch, zing, zing.
That's my shooting hand.
And then a little conversation as the party continues in the chat. Let's, Jim, the next thing I did want to, before we get into talking about this flick, I wanted to, as you know, as everyone who watches us regularly knows, I've been on our good friend DMG, Dragon Movie Guys podcast, and I've spoken about it here, about the Writers Guild strike, and of course the most recently the that SAG-Aftra, the Actors Guild, has also gone out in the picket line. I want to though highlight a great podcast episode from Pod Save America. Whoopsie, this one. And there's Adam Conover, their guest at the time, in full-throated, let me tell you. And Jim, I recommend this podcast to you. There will be a pinned link in the first comment after the show's done. I recommend this episode to you and to everyone who wants to get a writer and actor, a performer, a writer, an actor. The man is almost triple threat. He's a writer, actor. He's created and showrun a couple of his own shows. He's a stand-up comedian, very eloquent presenter of the position, and because of some of the shows he's done, Adam Ruins Everything, some folks out there might remember, got a great deal of insight and really knows the subject. It's definitely, he's a union guy talking about the union position and his feelings about that as an active vocal union member. Why not? Get the view of the worker. You can easily subscribe to AMPTP. We're poor as we roll around in our bags of money.
Exactly.
I strongly recommend that. And now I suppose, is it time, Jim? You know what? Maybe it is. Let's get back
Here it comes, folks.
let's get back to the flick at hand.
Sure.
Now, of course, we are talking about Oppenheimer, and here's my edited log line. And Katie Fowler, thank you once again for helping me as I was modifying it. Anyway, Oppenheimer tells the story of the titular American scientist through two key periods in his life: his role in the development of the atomic bomb, and then his fall from grace during the McCarthy era. Jim, why don't you tell us who's who here,
Yeah.
both in front and behind the camera?
Yes, well, we have Christopher Nolan, who for some reason I was calling Fincher earlier in the week. I guess I had a mini stroke, but anyway,
That does
Christopher
happen.
Nolan directing. It's based on a book, American Prometheus, which I'm so sure is selling like hotcakes.
Jim,
Radio-
I picked up the audiobook and listening to it
Radioactively
as we
hotcakes.
speak.
Oh, who does the narration?
A gentleman named, I don't. It wasn't like, it's not a name. It's
Okay.
a well-known.
I'm always kind of
somebody in the
curious.
audio.
I've started listening to them on.
It's been
on
around
long
for
drives.
years.
Yeah.
The audiobook's
I
been around for
imagine.
years.
I think the book's 2005, but
Yeah.
it is both directed and screenplay by Chris Nolan, starring, of course, Cillian Murphy, not Cillian, as I understand it, Emily Blunt, Florence Pugh, of course, is in it. Matt Damon has a great role. Robert Downey is very un-Iron Man-like in this. Josh Hartnett, who is slowly morphing into Kyle Chandler. Casey Affleck, Rami Malek, a couple of Oscar guys there. Kenneth Branagh. Yeah, it's pretty. And almost every role, even the minor roles, there's like Josh Peck and Jack Quaid, and
Yeah.
there's like almost everyone who has like one line you've seen before in other things. So it's Gary Oldman has a bit of a cameo. Perhaps you can call it a cameo, but yeah, filled with stars.
Filled.
Filled to the brim.
A cavalcade of stars.
Yes, exactly.
All right, Jim, we did see this the other night. Didn't get a chance to produce a Tim Hortons See It or Skip It. So, and then I shot something separate, but it didn't feel right without you, given we both saw it. So I'm jumping into it. Jim,
Sure.
Oppenheimer, see it or skip it?
Oh, definitely see it. Strongest recommendation to see it in the theater.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. First, wow, movie of the year, one where I'm like, damn. Yeah, strong, see it, solid. Yeah, see it and see it in the theater. I think this is the first one in years where see it. It's worth seeing it in the theater. See it in a good one. Sit, center, midway back, get the full impact. All right. With that out of the way, I think, Jim, I think it's time
Here
to
it
jump
comes.
into
The spoiler
The
zone.
spoiler zone.
Okay, Mr. Chaboyko, why don't you start us off? Oh, excuse me, burping away here. Start us off with just kind of your overall impression of this flick. Like, once you got out of the theater, what were you thinking?
I was sort of reflecting a couple things. One, how on paper you think, well, you know, a guy assembles a team to create a weapon, a lot of committee meetings, and then afterwards there's sort of and it's duly projected with a couple of sort of court-like cases, although not in. So on paper, it doesn't appear to be that dynamic, but the way that Nolan works this, how dynamic it ends up being on a personal level, just with the visuals. He took a sort of a not obviously cinematic subject and made it totally cinematic. So that's one thing that I was marveling at. The other thing too, and I can only compare this to, and this is a little bit of a deep dive, Miller's Crossing. When I saw that when I was younger, I was like, what was not inevitable? Like, if someone did something different And I always find that sort of like the movie's so full that was there anything that if anybody did something differently, it would have turned out in a different way or something, and that's usually the sign that it's sort of jam packed. What would I do to change anything? I don't think I'd change anything, but I also couldn't solve that problem, like what wasn't inevitable. So, and then just being blown away by the performances and the visuals and the sound. And I think we talked about this amongst ourselves, but the sound design and the score. There's no beautiful melodies. All the score does is it's there to set you on edge, I think, and it's probably the best use of sound. I like. There's jump scares from the sound, basically. So that's that. I was very impressed by.
You know what, Jim? For me, okay. Here's a hot take. I detest biopics. And you know what? This is a broad brush, but I find most biopics, I have zero interest in seeing them because for the most part, they're hagiographies. This amazing thing, they may have a bit of flaws to give the character opportunity to grow as a person, but otherwise, it's a hagiography. It's look at what this amazing example of a culture did and how they overcame the odds and blah, 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 blah. Or, on occasion, bit of a character assassination. And then really rarely, thinking Amadeus, wow, it's both.
Yeah. Tricky juggling act there.
Here in Oppenheimer, we don't get a hagiography. We don't get a character assassination. What we get is a truly nuanced view of a person's experience through two pivotal moments. And I think actually a nuanced view of how we create a historical narrative. And it told in such a way that by the end of it, I was moved. I felt I was seen in a way. Like you alluded to this pre-spoiler zone. We're talking about how, it's not just the examination of this individual, but an examination in a way of the human experience, where through his flaws, you're kind of forced to look at your own. Like, you know what? I'm in my mid-50s. We're a similar vintage. And so, of course, more reflection is going on. And, we're not... I put in the... where do we go here? I put in the thumbnail, angel, devil, or both. And I'm not even sure that's necessarily maybe the right way to look at it, as much as it's, Jim, we're all a bit of, we all got a bit of that ambition in us, that willingness to, person overboard. Well, I didn't push him over, but I didn't warn him about the fact there was no railing as he was backing up into the water. Well, at the same time, a generosity of spirit that it was shown in the film, and the immense pressure these people were under. And plus the fact that make that war criminal Groves look good and while believable. Wow.
Yeah, I often think of what, if people are around in the afterlife, they'll go, oh, they got Florence Pugh to play me, or they got traditionally, famously handsome Matt Damon to play me, and he's just some sort of long-faced general in real life, but, this is boyishly handsome yet middle-aged Matt Damon is, strutting around his Groves. But, it's kind of an interesting take, but, yeah.
Would you, here's a question for you. I think I know what it is, because you actually vocalized in the theater.
I set him up.
Because, I mean, there's so many things we can talk about here about Nolan's mastery. I'm almost thinking it's like, was Tenet like sort of, hey, I want to experiment with some things so that I can really, really knock it out of the park of what I'm really interested. But here's my question for you, Jim. What is your favorite scene, or one of what's your favorite scene in this flick?
Yeah,
We're in the spoiler zone. Feel free to break it right down for us.
It's that first scene that when Oppenheimer meets the General Groves that's going to select him to head the project, and when Matt Damon, with all his sort of tensions, and Oppenheimer with all his tensions, or sort of Groves and Oppenheimer meet in a classroom. It's just such a crackling scene. It's funny. And it's there's a bit of an edge to it, and these guys are sort of facing off, and you can see how they are or are not going to fit going forward. How they're going to work together or maybe not work together. And it's a fascinating scene. And I should say that this is, despite the fact that this movie has a lot of sort of fast cuts and jump cuts and scenes without dialogue, and it's very quickly edited. And it can resemble a montage at times, which isn't my favorite way to tell a story. It sort of has these cornerstones of these great scenes, and these lengthy scenes. And that is, and I turned to you and I just said, now that's a scene. And it was probably my favorite scene. There was one in No Hard Feelings that I really liked, but totally different movie. But one of my favorite scenes of this year, and it sets the tone, and it reminded me of another sort of radioactive themed creation, which was Chernobyl, when the Jared Harris and Stellan Skarsgård characters got together. And it's sort of like, these guys look to be that they wouldn't work together, but they end up having to anyway. It was just such a... And it was that, and you saw it, and you realized, man, okay, I'm in for the ride. Not that that alone won me over, but it was just like, okay, that's a great scene.
Yeah, Jim, you're absolutely right. There's an exciting moment, and I love the way you did. And folks, you did. Jim just looked over. Now that's a scene.
Yeah.
There's moments at times where you're like, it is so good, yet you're so overwhelmed by the quality of the scene that you're kind of you're at two levels where you're like, I am totally in this movie, because it really is. It's a pivotal scene. It's where the movie gets going. It's really like, okay, the first act's done. We're in the second act now. We know what we're doing here. It's also, though, a moment where there's a part of your brain going, I'm in good hands. I'm in the hands. It's a little hyperbole, but this is where a Nolan deserves all that hyperbole. While at the same time, the performances are bang on, because it's not like, of course, it's all masterfully edited, but this is a scene that really leans on the dialogue and the delivery of the performers. And so you're like, wow, I'm seeing a lot of wow here. For myself, and before I describe mine, I want folks chime in, whether you agree with Jim, agree with me, or there is something. If you've seen this flick, love to hear from you, Walt, you, Cody, if you're still hanging around, what your favorite scene in this flick was, or maybe you don't have one. Like that's a tough one in a really great film where it's just a banger after a banger. For me, though, and it is an intercut, Casey Affleck.
Oh, yeah.
He's in one scene, plays an actual real individual, Pash, this Lieutenant Colonel Pash, part of the security apparatus. And so you get, as it's happening in Oppenheimer's subjective experience, as it's happening, and then as he's describing it to Groves, Matt Damon. So there's Casey Affleck as this Pash, Cillian Murphy as Oppenheimer, both in an office with Pash, as Pash is, really, tell me more about this experience he had. It's right around the time when Oppenheimer had been approached by a friend on behalf of a friend saying, hey, if you've got information you think should be shared with the Soviet Union, I could facilitate that. I'm just passing on a message.
Yeah.
And so he's trying to describe this in a way that doesn't get a buddy in trouble, and he's describing what he said to Groves, and Groves is like, what the? And so it's so well intercut that as Groves is describing, you do not know who you're dealing with, because you're too arrogant by half. You don't know what what I would never have let you went in a room with him. Let me tell you about this guy. Well, again, cutting back and forth, and Affleck in just a great performance, kind of giving you that energy without it. Sometimes it's like if it was just him, they'd have to really exploit the soundtrack. He'd have to be like, how did this guy become an officer? Like, no, he just gives a hint of the dread of the danger Oppenheimer is in through what Groves, this general, going, you don't know who you're dealing with, and you don't know the crazy things he has suggested. And I'm like, damn, that is a scene that I keep coming back to. And you again, you see some of these players where Casey Affleck, we see him twice in the whole movie. And really his tour de force is that moment,
Yeah.
And it's just
smiling
wow.
without the eyes smiling, and that
kind of
without being obvious or anything,
without being so
No, it's a great
creepy
scene,
that
you're
it's
right,
like, how do you not see this? And that ain't the only one. We're going to talk about other moments in this flick, folks.
Tons.
Walt 65, I just want to jump into the chat briefly. Walt 65 is talking about how it reminds him of the Day of the Jackal. You know what's going to happen, but the suspense and the tension is still unbearable. He thought the powerful scene was when the prosecutor, there was a hearing. It was supposed to be a closed-door hearing, much sleazy behavior on a number of people's behalf. It's in the historical record. But about his security clearance years later, when he was working as a consultant for the Atomic Energy Commission in the United States. Anyway, so there's this closed-door hearing, and the lawyer walking through it is squeezing Oppie and about why he built the bomb, ego, while bomb effects flash on the screen, which is a core question to the contradictions that are kind of cooked into this film, and cooked into the character and cooked into all of us, Thank you for that, Walt. Jim, maybe that's a great place to start then, is we do have these contradictions in this character. It really kind of played out in he's and I don't even think we see them as much in the black and white part as we really do in the color part. The color part is his subjective experience. It's his firsthand experience. Whereas the black and white, that's a story we're being told by another player. What were the contradictions you felt were what Nolan was most interested in examining? What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a good question. I think he was fully aware of him being Jewish, that it was a race with the Germans to get the bomb. And this was basically, I mean, they don't say death cult, but that's sort of what the Reich was at the time. And they were just mowing through Europe and killing millions of Jewish people. You know, I think he saw it, that part of what he did was to stop that, because initially they thought they were going to have to bomb Germany. In They ended up they ended up bombing Japan. So to save his own people, you know, he had to sort of contribute toward this horrifying act on non-military targets. You know, basically taking out, would they estimate 60 to 80,000 civilians. I think that was sort of one of them. To save his own people, he had to sacrifice another. They don't really spell that out, but I think that's one of the things that's in there in the movie.
Would you agree? Like, for myself, it's a weird one, right? Where and I think we do see it. There's let's say the intellectual ambition. You know, coming back to the scene, your favorite scene, that kickoff, where he's like, I'm just a humble physicist. Gross. Well, you'd be the first one I met.
Yeah, exactly. that was sort of like an opening salvo.
A great bit. But this idea, his argument is, I'm the only one who's going to be able to do this for you. I am the guy, you know, and so much of that is, when I say ambition, I'm not necessarily, you know, not something as crass as careerist. Ooh, I really want that, because then I can get that and that and that. It's not a step. It's this is all those things. Yes, his Jewishness and what is happening to the Jews in Germany. And he certainly has no problem. I think he used it as on the David Krumholtz, another wonderful performance.
Yes,
David
yep.
Krumholtz character Izzy, and where you see him like he's just this giant looking down on Isidore, and it's like, if we don't do this, what will happen to our family, our relatives? I kind of paraphrasing the dialogue. You get the impact though. Poor Izzy is like, I'm not helping you with this. You're the guy, but I can't do this. This is a terrible idea, you know, morally. And you know,
And a few people say that during the movie too.
Yeah. It's always brought up, but I'm wondering though, part of it is kind of to contrast against his scientific ambition. His own idea of not destiny, but this, I want to see if I can do it. I want to see, I am the guy and I need to prove that. Not that he has some weird kind of, I got to prove this to the world. Like he's not insecure in that way. But
I'll show them.
yeah.
I want the corner office, and
Yeah, it's when we think of ambition, we usually think of it as a corporate sense, and it's like not but certainly that scientific ambition. Like even in the way early in the film talking about how Einstein, well, that was old physics. Where are the new physics? You know.
Yeah.
Which Einstein in a great moment later in the film totally calls him out on. I'm amazed at how many setups and payoffs there are, small and large.
Right down to
none
the end,
are
like,
left. What?
Yeah, right down to the end, a little conversation by the pond there, and that was sort of
none are left.
That was
and
almost
they're all good.
novelistic. I think. You know, you can see that in a book being the end. You know, the final page.
You know, well, what another one? And yes, this is where Grace Randolph is right. He is a human being, and at times he could be a real shit. Known womanizer. But his relationship with Grace Tetlock, a real person played by Florence Pugh, she did end up killing herself. But it's interesting in the way they used, because he was, it's hard to say, was he sleeping with her still when he was married to his final marriage to Kitty Oppenheimer, played by Emily Blunt. But Jim, people have talked about it. online, ooh, Florence Pugh naked. It's like, well, yes, but I still think this is the first time I've ever seen. It's like, okay, it doesn't necessarily seem needed until you get the scene from Emily Blunt's perspective, because they talk about the affair and the FBI spying on them in the hearing, the closed door hearing in the ALCL offices, some dusty office building off to the side. And you have this moment where they reenact a piece of it specifically to show the impact of this purient questioning. And I'm like, wow, I think I just seen a nude scene and a love scene. Here is that gun going off now in the third act. And it was just like, damn.
Yeah, and an echo, even physically, how they're arrayed, we'll say, a direct echo of earlier in the show, earlier in the movie there. So, yeah, it's set up and not wasted. And, kind of like, it wasn't very, I don't think it was done out of titillation. It wasn't very sexy sex, as we were talking.
No.
It's just very a matter of fact. Right there, there's no kind of like saxophone music and the the panning or scanning camera or anything like that. It's just bam. It's
But at
a
the
matter
same
of fact
time,
right there.
you're not like going, oh, this is key
Yeah.
until you understand why.
Yeah.
Because, he was a womanizer. And you get little hints of who else he might have been sleeping with, although very much seemed to be a lot of open conversations too, because of the scene he was in. But we never see a love scene between him and Kitty. And apparently they were quite passionate at the beginning of their relationship. And that's why I think we're shown the Florence Pugh, that Grace, it is Grace Tetlock. isn't it?
Jean, I think.
Jean, thank
Tatlock.
you. Sorry
Yeah.
about that. In part because it's so important to that scene later. It's like, here is where, and Emily Blunt, just mostly in reaction, whether she's throwing stuff or just having a choke on it. Damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry,
Right
Jim.
up till the end, right?
Damn!
Right up to the end, and you pointed that out when their age, their age via makeup or whatever looks great, and
really
and
did.
she's got sort of a meeting one of the characters and has a sour look on her face because she knew how I think it was Teller had sort of turned his back on her husband, and so they're still together, and she still feels, despite everything, some sort of loyalty to him, and she's just got this kind of sour look on his face and refuses to shake his hand. It's sort of a great little quiet moment for at the very end. Yeah.
What we've talked a lot about the color part. We haven't much talked about the black and
No.
white.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Why do you think why do you think Nolan did that? Black and white versus color. Not why you had to have a black and white, specially made black and white film stock, because
No, it's talkie IMAX black and white, I guess. But
sorry, Jim.
no,
There you go. You have the floor.
yeah, I think I was thinking about this, and this thing would be murder. This movie would be murder to storyboard. It'd be, you'd have various whiteboards, I think, arrayed around the office, like there'd been 5 murders or something with red string connecting everything. Like, I don't know how this movie was put together, but a lot of the times there's so many cuts and it's so non-linear that anybody who thinks about it or has seen a movie before can probably figure it out. But oftentimes you're figuring out a time, when is this based? based on the character's hairstyle. So, at the very start, Cillian Murphy sort of resembles like a cross between Oppenheimer and a young Charlie Chaplin. He's got the sort of the crazy 1920s hair. And at the end, it's, shorn in gray and that sort of thing. And that sort of makes that, not just the hair, but, the way it's filmed and everything else. And that makes that distinction. I think there were so many things to make distinct that it sort of makes sense to have filmed the parts that he wasn't there. So it's the Robert Downey as Admiral Strauss section that's in the black and white. And I think that just helps. I mean, it's a pragmatic tool to help differentiate that whole story, which Oppenheimer isn't present for, at least not physically, but in spirit. And the rest of the movie, which is, very much on him, places where I think he's probably on screen for all the scenes regarding him in the color part anyways. Yeah. I'm just trying to think.
The color is all
so I
him.
think, yeah,
Color
but I
is
think he's,
all him.
there's not a lot of scenes without him that are in color.
Yeah.
Just trying to think. Yeah.
None.
But
color,
I think that
he's in
it's
everyone
another
in color.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
his.
I think so.
Here's my theory. I don't think it's just a practical storytelling device. I think it's actually Nolan commenting on historiography, historicity, because it's so much about this historical moment in time, McCarthy era, this thing where there's a lot of documentation, as FBI files. Mm-hmm. Heck, you can even right now online, folks, and we'll speak about that in a second, get the FBI file, see the FBI file on his daughter. A tragic story for her. Anyway, moving forward, I think in a way that just as on the one hand, in the color part, it's to talk about the complexity and the nuance of this individual. There's also that commentary, that critique of how we view the history of these people. And it's interesting that, poor Grace and how many other commentators actually don't get that part. They don't, it's like, okay, here, the black and white is how we see these people back in the day. And it's that, let's say, movie news interpretation and retelling that we're told, that we're like, oh, that's the way it was. He hung out with a lot of communists. Of course he lost his security clearance.
Yeah.
Of course it does sort of, and it's also very much the result, and there's good historical research subsequent to this, but even then people knew at the time it's Strauss was out to get him. Mm-hmm. And it is a miscarriage of justice to a degree, what happened to Oppenheimer then. And the way his reputation was battered for years, and it is only when there's a rehabilitation, Kennedy and Johnson. Yeah. Well, it's a great language, Kennedy and then Johnson, followed through on it, where it's like, there's still a lot of scientists who hate us. Yeah. And, that was during an era and everyone hated that Strauss guy anyway. So, you got a great bad guy to kind of, those were the times. And even that moment with Einstein saying, your time will come. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, the
Strauss guy is like any of these other careerists, these, also a story of ambition,
and narcissism too. Like there's a whole big, the final kicker or the little kind of the final grace note is that all these years he thought that Einstein and Oppenheimer were talking about him, and in a great,
and that it ruined his relationship with Einstein.
Yeah, and as opposed to him just being a prick, a narcissistic prick. But there's a great in that whole black and white aspect about Strauss, played by Downey Jr. There. He's sort of being shepherded through the process of being confirmed to cabinet, or attempting to be confirmed to cabinet.
Yeah, it's Commerce
And one
Secretary.
of his handlers is Alden Ehrenreich, known also as young Han Solo.
Yeah.
And this is a guy sort of like Haley Atwell, and we just watched Mission Impossible. It's like you want them to find the role because they're so good, and
So
there's
good.
a point. There's a point where he realizes the snake that Downey is as Strauss, and his face, and I don't know how you do this, if it's muscles or his face just sort of visibly darkens.
Yeah.
And he just like, he kind of goes, and the light sort of goes out of his eyes, and it's just a beautiful moment. Like he's like, oh, okay, I misread this guy 100%. So,
And I'm the one who's,
yeah,
I'm my overconfidence and, a little arrogance on him. It's a learning moment for him. It's like, whoa.
Well, he's almost
I was
like one of those
dealing
pod
with
save.
someone.
If one of those pod save America guys was working in the 60s,
yeah.
it's that sort of
50s,
vibe.
60s.
Nice
Yeah,
suit
exactly.
on, young guy.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
working in DC and
very much somebody you would have found in Camelot.
Yes,
It was that, nearing that time. It wasn't quite
young and
there.
hopeful, and exactly.
It does.
A young senator by the name of Kennedy. What's his first name? I don't know.
Yeah.
John.
It's like, yeah, because life wasn't already doing spreads on Kennedy and Jackie. He wasn't already a war hero and a New York Times winning author. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to, Jim, and I think this is a great, again, back to that comment on historicity. And this will be my last, let's say, I don't know, can I call it a critique of Grace Randolph, or maybe just a note to all of us who watch this stuff? And as I've learned, because I love to about historical inaccuracy. And it is only over time, especially after we had a great conversation with, the director of that Flashback, French woman.
Oh, yeah. Carolyn,
yeah, Vigneault, Ms. Vigneault. That I started to really kind of reassess how I look at films set in a historical past. This doesn't take away, Jim, from my, in general, kind of dismissing of biopics. That said, what I do think about a great, movies about historical times, they are a great opportunity to dive a little deeper into the history of this thing, to look at the film's sources, learn a bit more about some of these side characters. And there will be a link. Here, Jim, is one of the sources I found. It's the, terrible belch there. It's the National Museum of Nuclear Science and History. They've got an online thing on all these characters, an oral history of all these players, including Oppenheimer's kids. Oh, excuse me. Sorry about that. And really quite fascinating. Here's a thing on Peter Oppenheimer, and a great little resource for anyone who wants to learn a bit more about some of these players. I referred to Pash. There's Groves in there. Another individual, let's see, do I have the piece up? I don't. I will grab it. But Jim, even our own local connection to the Manhattan Project.
Yeah.
And although it was set earlier in the other movie about this experience, Fat Man and Little Boy, starring Paul Newman, a young John Cusack.
Yes.
And, Laura, damn it.
Oh, I didn't look that deeply. I
Talking
just knew
about-
that junkies.
Talking about Walt, help me out here. She was also in a bunch of other movies. Starred across Nick Cage a couple of times.
Oh, Dern?
Yes, Laura Dern.
Okay,
Thank
yeah.
you.
It's been a while since I saw it, but
Who's
definitely would like
John
to watch
Cusack's
it.
love interest in a nurse at the facility.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, this a Winnipeg physicist went to study after studying here, moved to the United States to continue to study, became a physicist, was recruited into the Manhattan Project, had a not unimportant role, and then further research. There was an accident with the. What are they tickling the dragon's tail? The demon core, and because even though by that time they had a way to just do it automatically, it's like no, I want to stick my screwdriver in it. I'm fine. This is the way we did it back in Los Alamos.
Yeah.
It didn't work out well for him, and crappy death. But there's some great. CBC did an excellent piece on it, Jim. I think. Did you draw my attention to it, or did I draw yours?
I was going to. I think I did, and you were already familiar with it. But there's this little pocket park on the riverbank. It's a nice little spot dedicated to Louis Slotin, the young gentleman.
But yeah, CBC did a great piece on it, and there's pictures of the massive, the funeral was done at his home on Scotia Street. Thousands of Winnipeggers went to see, to pay their respects to the family. There will be a pinned in the pinned comment. There'll be a link to that story.
And for those out of towners, Scotia Street's this beautiful winding street of these old homes right on the river, right on the Red River, and it's quite and they close it down at times in the summer for bicycles only, so it's kind of a sweet little spot.
It's a lovely street
in the city. Yeah.
Quick dip into the chat. First of all, I think, Jim, it's time to acknowledge somebody new in the chat. I want to say, it is
Dragon Movie Guy.
Oh, here we go. Hi.
He also chimed in as Dragon Hawk Guy.
DMG, a good friend of the channel. His alter ego, or his sports side of his YouTube, and
I didn't know,
because of course, of Seattle Seahawks, a big fan there.
I think I have my Seahawks hat around here somewhere, but
the oh my goodness. It says Oppenheimer's had enough. He declares that's the last straws. But I like Walt 65 quoting a great that scene we're talking about where we see the other half at the end of the movie. What Einstein and Oppenheimer actually talked about by the pond. We're teased it in the first act. We see it played out in color in the second act.
Yes.
Or in the third act, late in the movie. Maybe they weren't talking about you. This is Aaron Reich. Aaron Reich, thank you.
Who's credited as Senate page, I think, or something.
Senate assistant or Senate aide. Because it sounds he was attached to the committee.
Yeah,
but
he doesn't
mostly
have a name.
working for Strom Thurmond.
Yes.
When the Dixiecrats were still part of the operation. Yeah. Anyway, but he says, maybe they weren't talking about you. Maybe it was something more important.
And it was.
But TMG, there's a bar called Atomic Liquor where they have a deck out front where they would gather to watch The Flash. Because of course, after a while, they were testing out there so often,
Yeah.
All right. You know what? I could go on for another hour about this flick, Jim.
Easily,
But I mean, the cast, the sound. Let's talk about
The sound,
before we go in. Let's talk about the sound. Jim, were you nervous, or did you feel no? This is not going to be Tenet. This is going to be different. Or were you a little nervous going in?
I
And that's to everyone in the chat who's seen it, too.
I did
want to
find
see comments
some of the
on that.
dialogue a little bit mumbly, not as bad as Tenet. More, I was sort of worrying about how loud it was going to be. I spoke to my uncle, who's in his 70s, and I was going to, and I assumed that he wouldn't have seen it yet, and I said to him, "Yeah, you should totally go see Oppenheimer." He goes, "Already did." I thought that was pretty good within the first 10 days or so. But he said he has tinnitus in one ear, so he was covering that one ear whenever he suspected that there was going to be an explosion. Some of them are surprises, like some of the effects.
You'd mentioned a jump scare.
There's a jump scare. There's a couple of them that have to do with his reaction to big crowds or big rooms where the sound becomes overwhelming, and he's sort of, at times he's seeing ghosts, and he's seeing like dead bodies of Japanese people that are just carbon, sort of almost like Pompeii-like remains. There's people with skin. So it's in these loud and cacophonous moments that he has these sort of visions, and that gets super loud. One of the jump scares is, of course, when they do the test, they're 10 and 20 miles away from it. So it takes a while, like it's silent. They show the explosion silent. And it's just a matter of not if the sound is coming, but when. My uncle was saying, yeah, I knew it was coming. So I, plugged that here, and I knew it was coming too. And then after it went on for so long, I thought, well, maybe he's just going to skip it. No, then it sort of comes at you. But there's a couple of times when he uses atypical, and I don't think biopics are typical area for jump scares, but there's a couple of them that you just don't expect, and it's often Oppenheimer's reaction to something. It's super well done, and it's scary and overwhelming, and it does an amazing job. And there's not like a pretty there's birds. I think when he's talking to Einstein, there's bird song, but aside from that, there's not nobody playing the guitar. There's another scientist that badly plays the bongos. Yeah. That's about it. Nobody with an acoustic guitar in the corner. Yeah. Like there's no pretty sounds in this.
Well, later,
it's all
as everything's starting to wind down, and he's getting more peace in his life. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a bit more of that. Walt65 says this had the smartest soundscape in a modern movie since No Country for Old Men, in his humble opinion.
Soundscape is a good word, yeah.
Yeah. No, this is where the difference between sound and sound design. This is why they call it sound design. It's not just here's your soundtrack. To quote a guy I've taken training from, and I'm looking forward to talking to him again. Ian Hillman. He's an MPSC, a motion picture sound editor. Brit, now living in Australia, but typically, and Nolan's a controversial figure in the sound design world. And Tenet broke people like in that world where they're like, you know what, it's okay. Yeah, it's not just, how does Hillman put it? Sound design. Typically it's music, effects, dialogue. Whereas his argument has been, it's like, look at sound differently. Like that is not enough for a filmmaker to tell you the impact they want. And so it's like, how can you use sound narratively? How can you use sound temporally, spatially? And he's trying to build he's trying to build a different language so that filmmakers can kind of take full advantage of sound design as opposed to just, hey, cool soundtrack. That's what I want. And I'm excited to see what he thinks of this, because here, we don't get that same. Some of it is mumbly, but I think it actually really does serve the narrative purpose, where it's hard to hear the dialogue because there's other things going on, and that's what we want to, because we're in his subjective experience, you know.
Yeah.
But a great, the later on in the film, folks, there's moments where we're seeing test explosions, and the bigger the explosion, the further you're away, and they count that time, and you know it's Nolan. That
Yeah.
time was accurate.
Yes.
So you see the flash of the explosion, you see the explosion, and over as
This
we're
is taking forever, to get here.
and then you feel the hit. And Jim and I, and I'm so glad we did this, Jim. I'm so glad I picked those seats. We are, not quite center of the seating. We're a little forward, but we're not like, and I think we got the full impact where we're getting the full visual impact, but we're getting the full sound design experience.
Yeah.
And yeah, folks, by the time you reach up to the, going back to that building of tension that Walt 65 talked, by the time you build up to that point of the actual Trinity test and that moment, the flash and the fire, and then you're just waiting, and you do hear sound, and your ears are just trying to get as much as possible, while at the same time you're like, this is coming. We've gotten a taste. Now we're going to get the big hit. And when that hits, it's like, damn.
And the actors, they all sort of, their characters relax a little bit. They're like, oh, it worked, yay. And they start standing up and stuff. And they don't realize that the wave is coming. And that's kind of, funny too. Not funny, but it's kind of interesting. No, it's something else, really. And I think, the sound plus the 3-hour length of the movie, I think the movie theater allows you to sort of, A, experience the sound that you're not going to get at home, and B, be able to concentrate as long as you don't have too many, pops beforehand, concentrate for 3 hours on a movie and not look at your watch. It goes by really quickly too for a 3-hour movie. Like I didn't feel that it lagged at all, but it's the sound definitely is something else. Wow. Yeah.
On this note, Jim, I think it is because we're we're coming up on
our own 3 hours.
We're and I could go on about this movie.
Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe we'll have a part deux. Part deux. Yes. Jeez, my French is always thinking to get this word right, and then those 4 words wrong, and then this phrase perfect. Anyway, there might be a part 2. That's it. I think it is time to talk about. Let's talk about final thoughts, Jim.
Sure. Do you want me to go first? Or?
Please. Yeah.
Sure. So I got a couple things written down, just to quickly touch upon. I noticed that the Wikipedia entry calls this a biographical thriller, which is something I don't think I'd ever seen, a classification I'd ever seen before. At least, unless it's been edited since, of course I got home and the first thing I did was go down that rabbit hole. I ended up going to bed at 3 a.m. After like, oh, check out what this person looked like and go to History versus Hollywood and all that sort of thing. Saw a little snippet of a Christopher Nolan movie and they interview, and they were asking him, and they said, when you're at home and you're flipping around the channels, what's and they called it a remote drop, where you just like find something, you're like, put the remote down, I'll watch this. And he said, Talladega Nights, the legend of Ricky Bobby. and he quoted from it a couple times, which won the interviewers over. He just said, if you're not winning, you're losing. I'm paraphrasing there. But the other thing, too, I had a couple notes that there's not any kind of end titles on this, where they might show Oppenheimer, walking away from a final meeting with somebody and freeze frame, and Robert Oppenheimer went on to live in Switzerland or whatever, and there's none of those. And I'm glad there wasn't, because it didn't.
I think they did pictures later in the credits.
seem that could have biopic. So,
Yeah.
was that?
I think they did pictures later in the credits.
Oh, did they? Oh,
Yeah, that's what I've read.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Okay.
folks. This is
There's
this
no
is partly
final
my
scene.
fault. I was like, okay, I got to go to the bathroom now.
Well, 3 hours, me too. But there's none of that sort of typical
No, you're
biopic
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
There's no sort of hopeful Emily Blunt's there, her character. Kitty's there at the end with Robert. And they've had a bit of a rough relationship, and there's no sort of sweet sort of like, I forgive you. Nothing's dumbed down. Everything's in place. There's a couple scenes where Cillian Murphy's on a horse and he's sort of
Adult.
galloping around. Yeah, and it doesn't seem fake or posy at all, and
Yeah.
I just well handled. The only other thing I wanted to mention too is that another one of the sort of the Twitterati that was, a group of them that were complaining about it was like, there is no scenes of Japan, and I don't. Again, it was almost like the no hard feelings kind of criticism. I don't think it was his job to show Japan. It was there in spirit. He saw ghosts and burning people and dead bodies and things like that, and I think that was a stand-in. But it's a very sort of a claustrophobic movie. It's about what happens in rooms. Aside from the bomb, it's about what takes place in these closed environments. And I think having it jump all the way to Japan would sort of not really be a part of that. But it's not like it was not acknowledged. I mean, there was obvious guilt. There was obvious, a dead body he steps into, and it's all carbon, and that's horrifying to him. It's not brushed off. So there's that I just wanted to bring up. I thought it was a bit of a silly argument, but yeah.
Yeah, Jim, for myself, I guess two things I wanted to kind of bring up. One was, we didn't talk about it enough. Emily Blunt, her Kitty, and because she's so good, you really get an idea of a real relationship, and how a woman can, how these people, like, they're never actually her, that she's not presented as a good mother, and yeah, apparently a lot of her friends, Jim, would say that. It's like a great quote on the, I guess Peter Oppenheimer's children are always kind of shocked when they hear stories of Kitty's contemporaries going, boy, yeah, she was really terrible to your parents. and because Peter Oppenheimer's kids never heard a bad word out of Peter Oppenheimer about parents. But it's not like Peter Oppenheimer never said anything bad about his parents. He did. But that idea of complexity, and because she is not on screen as much, although I think she's up there, but still not on screen as much, that she's able to, every time Emily Blunt's on screen, you get the idea of a real person who is imperfect and in a way shows Oppenheimer's imperfections. Again, there's a great moment where his lawyer is worried, is she going to be able to handle it? She was an alcoholic for most of her life. Is she going to be able to deliver in the because she does testify on his behalf in that Star Chamber, and how Oppenheimer, how Cillian Murphy delivers this. You don't know what we've been through. We've been through fire, and we've seen enough of this that you're like, oh yeah, that's right. They have their, for better and worse, together, and there's a real relationship.
Yeah.
And that is hard to do even with 3 hours because you're so much other stuff. Everything's a heavy lift, and everyone is up for that challenge. Everyone can make it. But yeah, Emily Blunt. I don't want to. We still got less than half the year, but still several months. But her peers. If the strike ends and they're able to do stuff like the Oscars, her peers should be at least be on some list.
Yeah.
Like she just delivers. And at the end where she blows off Teller and his character, like Teller, is just, you capture it in a gaze. And it's, again, a testament to everything that goes into making a movie. And Jim, get a little political here. This is why AI ain't taking over these people's jobs. No way, no way.
Yeah.
Whoop. No how. Like, gee, what? Oh, finally we'll be able to get rid of these hacks.
These hacks.
Yeah.
With their subtleties and
nuance, their ability to deliver a story and a look.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, some tech bro, some Cupertino is going to be I understand storytelling. It's like David Zaslav is going to, let me tell you, I know what the people like.
Yeah. Just throw a paper mask on a dummy and we'll
be fine.
Exactly.
What was the other item I did want to? There's one other thing I wanted to touch base with, and I cannot remember. I just kind of done here.
Yeah.
Walt 65 goes, he agrees with us regarding that, pointing out the relationships and these people's flaws. DMG, I did, and I even mentioned your podcast regarding AI at the beginning of the show when I was saying, hey, I was on DMG's recently, and then I was plugging somebody else's as well. Walt 65 says, best of all, the positive box office will allow Nolan to make yet another historical film at some point. Perhaps completing the trilogy after Dunkirk. Yeah, is that, and that's an interesting thing. Jim, do you think that this is part of like a triptych? You've got Dunkirk at the beginning of the war, then you got the kind of the end of war with a view of post-war. Do we have something else? Maybe the end of the Soviet Union, the fall of the Berlin Wall. Is that something? I don't know. Would you even be interested in seeing something from Nolan on that?
Absolutely, but what could
would we want to see another Nolan film after this?
What hasn't been covered? Like Dunkirk was funny because it was being a retreat. It was sort of not the proudest moment, but it certainly made for a hell of a movie. What would there be to cover? I'm like.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. Walt
that's its own
raises.
show. That's its own episode.
Yeah. What's next
here's
for Nolan?
An open letter to Christopher Nolan. Hey, the Canadians did well on Juno Beach. Christopher Nolan's Dieppe.
Actually, that's pretty good. Oh, you know what we haven't asked for is a like, a subscribe. A ring of the bell. Oh my goodness.
That's the express bell that goes by really quickly.
Yeah. Everyone, thank you all so very, very much for coming out for tonight. Walt 65, Dragon Movie Guy, the Brock Upside. Thank the three of you. You guys, all who have your own wonderful channels, and go check them out. And I'll probably pin in a rather extensive pinned comment. I'll throw links to their channels. I also want to say ahoy to Jelly Duck 100. Thank you very much.
Yes,
And last but certainly not least, Katie Fowler and Richard L., our fellow Winnipeggers. All right.
Yeah, see you. Good night, Pee-wee.
Good night, Pee-wee. Great note. All right.